Imagine stepping onto the cold scale after 7 days of absolute silence from sugar. The numbers have dropped significantly, sparking a sudden rush of dopamine and a feeling of premature victory. But we must brutally dismantle this comfortable illusion to understand the biology occurring beneath your skin. You have not yet incinerated your fat stores. You have simply deflated a vast internal ocean. To understand this rapid shrinkage, we must look away from the stomach and interrogate the kidneys. Most people simplistically view insulin merely as a courier that shuttles glucose into hungry cells. However, nephrologists recognize insulin as a strict warden that holds the keys to your hydration. Landmark research from Yale University School of Medicine identifies insulin as a potent anti-natriuretic hormone. It commands the distal convoluted tubule of the kidney to aggressively reabsorb sodium from your urine. It essentially locks the exit doors, forcing your body to hoard salt and water indefinitely. But the moment you cut sugar, insulin levels plummet like a heavy stone dropped in water. This sudden drop sends a frantic cancellation order to the kidneys regarding that sodium retention. Consequently, a biological phenomenon called natriuresis begins, flushing massive amounts of sodium out of you. Ancient laws of physics dictate that water must always follow salt, creating a literal flood. This specific mechanism explains why you are visiting the restroom constantly during these initial 48 hours. Simultaneously, your liver is unlocking a heavy ancient energy vault known as glycogen. You should visualize glycogen not just as fuel, but as a dense, waterlogged sponge. Physiology dictates that for every single gram of glycogen, 3 grams of water bind to it. As your starving body burns these reserves, you are mechanically wringing out this internal sponge. Therefore, nearly 70% of the weight lost this week is simply liquid departure. You are not becoming leaner just yet, but you are becoming significantly less inflamed. The puffiness in your face recedes as the chronic burden of water retention finally lifts. While your kidneys exhale relief, your brain enters a chaotic state of chemical mourning. We must stop viewing sugar merely as a calorie source and see it as a drug. When you consume sucrose, it hijacks a primitive neural pathway known as the nucleus accumbens. This creates a blinding surge of dopamine, identical to the mechanism triggered by illicit narcotics. Research from Princeton University has famously demonstrated that sugar dependence alters the brain's neurochemistry fundamentally. Over years of consumption, your brain essentially deafens itself to protect against this constant noise. It reduces the number of dopamine D2 receptors in a protective process called downregulation. But suddenly, when you cut the supply, you are left with a silent, empty void. You now have fewer receptors and zero dopamine stimulation, plunging you into a deficiency state. This is the precise moment where biology turns violently against your best intentions. The amygdala, your brain's fear center, wakes up and begins firing distress signals of anxiety. You feel a restlessness that feels like hunger, but it is actually a chemical panic. However, we must pause and ask why nature would install such a self-destructive mechanism. The answer lies buried deep in the soil of our evolutionary history as hunter-gatherers. For your ancient ancestors, sweetness was the rarest and most critical signal in nature. A sweet taste guaranteed 2 things. The food was not poisonous, and it was energy-dense. It was a survival signal that meant you could store fat to survive the coming winter. So, your brain was programmed to consume as much sweetness as possible whenever it appeared. This is why you cannot simply eat one cookie. Your survival software is overriding your logic. You are not fighting a lack of willpower. You are fighting millions of years of evolution. Understanding this transforms your self-judgment into a profound sense of biological empathy. You are battling a mismatch between your ancient hardware and a modern, sugar-saturated environment. But as this neural storm rages, a silent miracle is beginning to happen under your skin. The very structure of your face is beginning to repair itself from the inside out. By day 4 or 5, you might notice a subtle, unexpected change in the mirror. The texture of your skin begins to shift from a dull inflammation to a newfound clarity. This is not magic. It is the cessation of a violent chemical war called glycation. In the presence of high blood sugar, glucose molecules become dangerous, sticky wanderers. They travel through your bloodstream, seeking proteins and lipids to violently bond with. Unfortunately, their favorite target is the most abundant protein in your human body: collagen. Collagen and elastin act as the structural scaffolding that keeps your skin firm and youthful. But when sugar attaches to them, it triggers a chaotic process called the Maillard reaction. This is the exact same chemical reaction that turns a steak brown on a hot grill. Essentially, high sugar intake means you are slowly cooking your own tissues from the inside. This process creates toxic compounds, appropriately named AGs, or advanced glycation end products. Research published in the British Journal of Dermatology confirms that AGs make flexible collagen brittle. Instead of acting like a resilient spring, your skin fibers become stiff and prone to snapping. This mechanism is the biological root cause of premature wrinkles and that characteristic sagging structure. But when you cut the sugar, you immediately stop fueling this internal browning process. Your body initiates a cleanup phase, allowing new, uncorrupted collagen to form without interference. Simultaneously, the drop in insulin levels quiets another notorious enemy of clear skin, IGF-1. Insulin-like growth. Factor 1 is a hormone that aggressively drives oil production in your pores. High sugar spikes IGF-1, turning your face into a breeding ground for bacterial inflammation. By removing the trigger, you are effectively turning off the fuel valve for adult acne. You begin to realize that true cosmetic beauty is merely a side effect of metabolic health. Your skin is not just a surface, it is a real-time dashboard of your metabolic status. But as your skin cools down, your kidneys are preparing to solve a painful mystery. We are about to debunk a massive, persistent myth regarding joint pain and meat consumption. For decades, we have been told a partial truth about the fiery pain of gout. We blame red meat and purines for the microscopic shards of glass forming in our joints. However, metabolic science reveals that fructose is often the silent, primary architect of this agony. Unlike glucose, fructose is a rogue sugar that cannot be utilized directly by your body's cells. It must be intercepted and processed exclusively by the liver in a metabolically expensive event. The breakdown of fructose consumes rapid amounts of ATP, literally draining the battery of liver cells. This intense refinement depletes cellular energy, leaving behind a specific waste product known as uric acid. A pivotal study published in JAMA explicitly links high fructose consumption to a doubled risk of gout. But the production of this acid is only one half of the painful biological equation. The second problem occurs in the kidneys, where high insulin acts as a functional blockade. Elevated insulin physically prevents your kidneys from excreting uric acid, trapping it within your blood. You are essentially overproducing toxic waste, while simultaneously locking the exit doors to the dump. This explains the tragedy of vegetarians who suffer from joint pain despite avoiding all meats. They are often unknowingly poisoning themselves with high fructose fruit juices and so-called healthy agave syrups. By day 7 of your sugar fast, this toxic metabolic traffic jam finally begins to clear. As insulin levels normalize, the kidneys regain their capacity to filter and expel uric acid. You are simultaneously reducing the risk of painful kidney stones and dissolving crystals in your joints. This provides critical relief to the glomerulus, the delicate microscopic filtering units inside your kidneys. You realize that your chronic pain was perhaps never about the steak on your plate. It was likely caused by the sweet, sugary beverage you used to wash it down. You are finally liberating your kidneys, But now, you must navigate a dangerous physiological hurdle. Your body is about to panic as it switches fuel sources, creating a temporary crisis. We must discuss the very real dangers of the keto flu and hypoglycemia. We have celebrated the benefits, but we must now respect the biological cost of transition. Your body is currently suspended in a volatile gap between two distinct energy systems. The accessible glucose is depleted, yet your cellular machinery is not fully optimized to burn fat. This metabolic limbo forces the liver to work overtime, performing gluconeogenesis to sustain basic life. But the most immediate danger arises directly from the massive fluid loss we previously discussed. When your kidneys flushed out the sodium, they also recklessly discarded other critical electrolyte minerals. You are rapidly depleting potassium and magnesium, the essential conductors of your heart's electrical rhythm. This specific deficiency manifests as the keto flu, causing heart palpitations, headaches, and debilitating cramps. However, for those explicitly managing diabetes with medication, this week carries a potentially lethal risk. Pharmaceuticals like sulfonylureas are designed to aggressively lower blood sugar, assuming a standard high-carb diet. Without dietary sugar to buffer them, these powerful medications can drive glucose into dangerous hypoglycemia. Symptoms include confusion, trembling, and even loss of consciousness if not monitored with clinical precision. You must absolutely consult a medical professional to adjust dosages before attempting such a radical shift. Furthermore, your body initially perceives this sudden energy deficit as a significant survival threat. The adrenal glands respond by releasing cortisol, chemically alerting the brain to stay wide awake. This is why many people experience paradoxical insomnia despite feeling physically exhausted during this phase. You are not just hungry. You are chemically wired to hunt for missing energy sources. Research from the Mayo Clinic suggests that electrolyte supplementation is non-negotiable during this acute adaptation window. You must aggressively replenish these minerals to bridge the gap without suffering unnecessary biological trauma. If you can endure this temporary turbulence, you will unlock the ultimate reward of evolution. As the chaotic metabolic storm finally clears, a profound silence settles over your mind. The persistent, heavy brain fog that once clouded your daily thoughts evaporates completely. You are no longer riding the violent, exhausting roller coaster of glucose spikes and insulin crashes. In this newfound stability, your brain initiates a powerful repair protocol known as neurogenesis. It begins ramping up the production of a miraculous protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Harvard psychiatrist John Ratey famously describes BDNF as the miracle grow for your neural garden. This protein actively repairs damaged neurons and forges new synaptic connections with unprecedented speed. It acts as a biological fertilizer, strengthening the critical pathways responsible for memory and learning. Research suggests that high levels of BDNF may even protect against future neurodegenerative decline. You will notice that your ability to focus becomes laser-sharp, consistent, and unshakable. This mental clarity is your natural state. The fog was merely a symptom of pollution. You realize that your previous anxiety was largely a downstream effect of chemical turbulence. Furthermore, your cells have finally started to answer the door when insulin knocks politely. This is the restoration of insulin sensitivity, the single most important factor for human longevity. Reaching this 7th day is not the finish line, but a significant vital beginning. You have successfully initiated a metabolic reset, proving that your biology is not broken. Your cells are remembering how to switch between fuels, regaining their ancient metabolic flexibility. Moving forward, do not fear the natural sugars wrapped in the fiber of vegetables. Nature packages fructose with fiber to slow absorption, rendering it safe for your liver. Instead, direct your vigilance toward the isolated, industrial powders that hijacked your reward system. You have endured the withdrawal to reclaim the ancient, resilient heritage of your own body. You have proven that you are the master of your internal chemistry, not its victim. The cravings may whisper occasionally, but they no longer scream with the authority of survival. Listen closely to this new silence, for it is the sound of your health returning. Hope this video was valuable to you. See you in the next videos.